Right, hello again. So I want to do a review on The Human Body, A Guide for Occupants by Bill Bryson. God, this book looked boring when I saw it on the supermarket shelves. I thought, the body? It's not the human body, is it? It's the body. The Body, A Guide for Occupants. And I saw this on the shelf somewhere like Asda, I think it was, and I just thought, God, that looks boring. The Body by Bill Bryson. I love Bill Bryson. Like, one of the first non-fiction books I ever read was A Short History of Nearly Everything. I lay on a beach somewhere in Spain. I was in my early 20s and I didn't do a lot of reading at the time. I just used to read when I was on holiday. And I lay back and I just immersed myself in this book, and I just thought, wow, the stuff that's gone on in history to do with science is just absolutely fascinating. I can remember thinking, my science teaching in school were absolutely shit. I used to be bored. I used to be so bored of science. I did terribly. Well, I didn't do terribly. I did okay in my GCSEs, but I would never even really consider doing A levels. At one point, I wanted to be a doctor, but I never would have done A levels because I wouldn't have stood a chance. I just found it so boring. And some of the teachers, to be fair, were pretty good, but it was just, I suppose it's the curriculum and stuff that they've got to teach you. It just switches you off, or it switched me off anyway. But I listened to this book, A Short History of Nearly Everything, and it was just so interesting. And I just thought, wow, the stuff that people have done over the years, and these historical characters, the way Bill Bryson kind of paints them, and it's just fascinating, and the atmosphere that he kind of creates around it and stuff. It was just such an interesting book. And that really was what kind of started my interest in personal development and kind of non-fiction books, I suppose. I remember thinking, God, I thought the only interesting books were fiction, was, you know, stuff that people had made up and fantastical sort of stories and stuff. But actually, it's kind of this cliche of truth is stranger than fiction in some ways. Yeah, and I absolutely loved it, and so that really sparked my curiosity about the world, and my curiosity about the world is what has kind of caused me to think about my own potential and my own personal development, and it kind of excites me and makes me think, actually, our potential is huge. No matter who you are, you're so much more capable than you think you are, and that's really what this channel is about. Is I am basically reading as much as I possibly can. I read between 70 and 100 books a year. I listen to quite a lot of them as well, mainly on Audible, because I find I have more time to do that when I'm driving, or if I'm doing something in the garden, or if I'm doing whatever, I've got a bit of downtime, I can listen to stuff. So I read and I listen to books, and I think listening is just as good as reading in some ways. In some ways I prefer reading because you kind of put your own voice to it, but in some ways listening, I think, is really nice as well. It just depends. I think they're both as effective. One's just as effective as the other. But anyway, I think if you want to develop yourself, you've got to have a curiosity for things. And I've always said that life is so, I see life as so short that the amount of stuff I want to learn about and kind of experience is just, you could never do it in one lifetime. And in some ways I find that quite sad and a little bit depressing, but in other ways I sort of find it quite exciting. Just think, I just want to read as much as possible, get as much information in there as I possibly can, think about stuff, and just enjoy life as best as I can. And that kind of leads me on to this book, The Body, A Guide for Occupants, that's what it's called, by Bill Bryson. And yes, it looked really boring on the shelves, but I gave it a go. I listened to it. It's narrated by him. He's got a fantastic voice. He's really calming and reassuring and kind of magical sounding. And it's so much better when the author of a book narrates it as well. I always say that. And in this case, it's just perfect because he's got a brilliant voice. He's a bit of a genius, really, Bill Bryson. Not to blow too much smoke up the old boy's arse, but yeah, I really like his stuff. I also listened to his book, One Summer in America, 1926. Is it 1926? 9? I got that wrong probably, but I'll edit that in afterwards. Somewhere around there anyway, 1920 something. One Summer in America, and that's really interesting. That's a fascinating one. I'll probably do a review on that at some point. But anyway, as you know, any of you who follow this channel, I try not to include any kind of spoilers, because I think if you're going to read a book or listen to a book, you want to find it out for yourself. And particularly with The Body, there's only so many kind of surprises you can have with The Body. If you know a little bit about the human body, then, you know, if you keep up to date with kind of science behind kind of health and nutrition and stuff like that, then you'd kind of expect there not to be too many surprises, but there are actually quite a few surprises in this book. I was quite taken aback by some of the stuff that he says. I will give you one, and I'm giving you warning so you can switch off if you want, or pause it or fast forward, but I will give you one because I really like this one, and I think it helps with what I'm going to talk about next. And that is, he says that if you took your DNA and all the strands of DNA in your body, laid them out next to each other, they would stretch 10 billion miles, which is beyond the orbit of Pluto. I think that's pretty amazing. And that kind of made me realise really how, in some ways, how tiny we are in the universe and how kind of insignificant we are, but also how actually our potential is kind of huge. And we tend to assume that where we are in history, we know absolutely everything, and we know about science, and we know everything, even though we know we don't know everything, because we can't even be prepared for the coronavirus, which, you know, I say we can't even, but a virus is probably likely to be the thing that wipes us out in the end anyway, but I won't go into that. But I think that this book just kind of gives you the idea that life is really short, and that we need to kind of embrace every moment. We need to appreciate our bodies, because we only have one body, one lifetime, one opportunity to kind of leave our mark in a way, I suppose, or you not even necessarily leave your mark, but just kind of, well, yeah, leave your mark. You don't have to be famous and kind of leave a big mark necessarily, or go down in the history books or anything, but maybe leave your mark on the people you love, your kids, your family, your parents, brothers, sisters, whoever, your friends, whatever. But actually, we've got this one body which is susceptible to certain things, but is also actually really resilient. And he talks about how resilient it is, but also the things that we're susceptible to, the number of things that can kill us potentially. And he talks about life expectancy, and that there's some really quite fantastic statistics about that, which kind of scared me a little bit, and led me to do a bit of research. I'll give you a clue. Glasgow, definitely worth researching life expectancy in Glasgow. Also life expectancy in America as well, which was quite interesting. He talks about how the wealthy in America have just, you know, susceptible to the same life expectancy, and that's really interesting as well. But yeah, it's just typical, for me, it's just typical Bill Bryson. I haven't read all of his books. I think I've only read the ones that I mentioned. So Short History of Nearly Everything, one's 1926 or whatever it is, one Summer in America. I think it's 1926 because I'm sure, yeah, I think so anyway, somewhere around there. So that one, Short History of Nearly Everything, and this one, The Body. I want to also read A Walk in the Woods at some point, and there's another one, I think it's A Short History of Being at Home or something, I think it's called. That one appeals to me quite a lot, so I'll read that at some point. But there's so many books out there, aren't there? That I'm so into reading at the minute, though. Even though I get through quite a few, there's just so many out there. There's so many that are less well known as well that I want to have a look at, and books by people who aren't particularly well known as well that I kind of want to give a go and do some reviews on. There's also newer stuff coming out by people who are more well known, and yeah, it's just a vast kind of, there's so much out there, isn't there? But this book, The Body, A Guide for Occupants by Bill Bryson, really recommend it. It isn't a personal development book, but you know from following this channel that I don't always review just personal development. I also review fiction books as well. I just tend to find that from reading anything really, you can take a certain amount of something to improve your life, I think. And even if it's something that's fiction and it's just complete and utter escapism, that's still personal development. That's still giving you the opportunity to kind of get outside of yourself for a little while and maybe forget about how hard you're pushing in your business or how disciplined you're being, and actually just enjoy something that's creative and magical and takes you away to a different place for a little while. That can be a bit meditative maybe. And this book by Bill Bryson, it's popular science basically. If you're a doctor or a scientist, you probably won't find it necessarily that interesting. You'll probably know much more detail, but for the everyday layman like myself, he does it in a way that just makes it really interesting, really easily accessible. I'm not telling anything new, I know, because there's plenty of other reviews on YouTube as well that you could look at, and you know you'll get people who kind of spell it out and give it to you nice and clearly. But I just think I like to relate it to personal development, and I just think the body, looking after yourself through sensible nutrition and exercise and sleep, that is part of personal development. You know, even if you're someone who, just say for example, prioritizes how much money you make in your business, you still need to look after your body. If you don't have a healthy body, you're less likely to have a healthy mind, and you're less likely to live long enough to succeed, or even if you do succeed, have time to spend the money that you've made. So you've got to look after your body. That's a crucial part of personal development. And the information that he's put in his book does just give you that little bit of a rocket up the backside in terms of the things that we tend to do that are bad for us, some of the things we can do a bit more that are good for us potentially, but it also kind of makes you realise as well that we just don't know everything about the body. We really don't. We know even less than I thought we did actually, which is quite frightening, but it's also quite reassuring in some ways. It's quite nice to know that we're not justified in our arrogance when it comes to science. I think we can be quite arrogant when it comes to what we think we know, and I think it does us good to be a bit humbled sometimes and kind of look at what we don't know and kind of try to think about things and try to think about what we can do personally to try and improve things as well, because we're all so much more capable than we think we are. But I think the overall message of this book, like I say, is life is really short. Enjoy it, look after yourself, look after the one body that you've got, and appreciate it, and that's all we can really do. Cheers.